Anxiety is one of the most commonly used words today. It is part of our conversation, captions, memes, and everyday language. But there is a line between common use and clinical term, and that line has blurred. So the question here is, do we understand anxiety or have we just normalized it? Because there is difference between feeling anxious and living with anxiety.
Do you know what anxiety is and how it affects people?
Yeah, I do understand. So basically, it's constant worrying in your mind, and people are very overthinking a lot, and they're not able to concentrate on a certain thing. So this is what I feel how it affects people.
So I feel anxiety is basically you're worried about something and it constantly troubles your mind. And how it affects is basically you're not able to live in the moment. You are worrying about something, either past or future, whatever it is. So you're not living your 100%.
I'm a person who's going through menopause and I have thyroid, so both are hormonal imbalances, and I do go through a number of things because of hot flushes and all anxiety, so I do understand that.
Not specifically, but I think it varies people to people. It can be depression, it can be nail biting, it can be loneliness, anything. It differs.
Anxiety, it's an emotion, right? Like fear, sadness, happiness, all of us experience anxiety. But when we talk about pathological one, that's when the attention is needed. When I speak of anxiety as an emotion, basically, it means that you're about to face any threat or any challenge per se, and you're feeling overwhelmed by that, right? Pathological one is sometimes a perceived threat. I might not have an actual stimulus or actual situation which is threatening, but I am perceiving it to be threatening. And it's so much so, it's very chronic and it's very intensive in nature that I'm not able to cope with it in our day-to-day life.
How long does it take for you to feel calm after anxiety strikes?
Mentally, to be honest, I think I'm pretty much on the sorted side. So if any stressful trauma occurs, probably 6 to 7 hours.
So usually I have sort of trained myself to be good at it, and it takes me like a few moments, maybe a minute or two. But if those stressful moments happen one after the other, then it's a goner. Then I don't know how long it takes.
Mental problems, or if I am having a anxiety attack or anything, it usually takes me 20 to 25 minutes to calm down.
Usually I don't get too stressed out, worked out, but when I do it, I tend to just be with myself, spend maybe, does not take much time, maybe half an hour of silence or just being with myself, and I move forward from that, whatever it's stressing me out.
People recognize the feeling, but they don't recognize the condition. They see the surface, not the system underneath.
René Descartes, who's a great French philosopher, spoke of very essential component that body and mind are not separate entities. They interact, right? A lot of time we either drag our mind so much till the point that our body hits that alarm clock.
Yeah.
Right? It's the alarming point. And that's when we start paying attention. But that's too late.
Yeah.
So our brain kind of, whenever stress occurs, our brain gets signaled that, okay, now I have to activate the body to deal with that stressor, right?
It's basically when our brain processes that there's a stressor, it's signaling our body to release the stress hormone, which is cortisol. But when that stress is prolonged, right, because our body is fighting, but it can fight to a point. It needs rest and break. Your body can't be on flight and fight. It's going to show up physiologically.
Here's the truth most people don't learn. Anxiety is not just psychological. It is much more. It changes how your brain functions. It changes how your nervous system responds. Anxiety disorder is one of the most common mental health disorders worldwide. Over 300 million people suffer with it globally. And chronic anxiety leads to prolonged cortisol release, which leads to weakened immunity, digestive disorders, hormonal imbalance, sleep disorders, migraines, and even cardiovascular strains. This means that anxiety doesn't just stay in your mind. It moves into your body and settles in your system.
So definitely coping can really make a difference. A lot of times, especially in our clinic, we see clinic and hospital, a lot of time people turn towards substance use particularly because they have a stressor. And now instead of one, you have two problems, right? So that's how avoidance cycle work. You're trying to avoid a problem is not being solved, but rather you're having it more on your plate. then a lot of times people withdraw themselves, even though they have their enough reasons to withdraw. But I somehow feel interconnectedness is very important. And a lot of time, I somehow feel that if somebody is withdrawing rather than reaching out, it's our role there to build a safe space. If it's a friend, a family member, because if they're not feeling safe enough with us, there is probably some underlying discomfort that needs to be addressed. Right?
Can creating art heal the mind better than just talking about your problems?
I won't say more because it should go simultaneously, because I think at least for me it works both ways. I have to take it out also, and then of course art therapy is kind of healing.
I've actually tried both, and I actually realized art is something which I did not have to, express this to someone else. Rather, it was more of for myself.
I would go with talking to people because it helps me to release the stress and whatever I want to say. But I will choose art whenever I have confusion in my mind, which nobody can solve.
I had no idea that would really work, but I did it today and I felt it. I felt the difference. I always thought that talking is only the solution, but no, expressing yourself on paper is also another thing, and I really loved it.
I believe art is definitely one of the way to relax and express yourself, but I believe agar problem solving ki baat hai, so I'm like a yapper, so I feel like talking to people definitely is much more helpful to solve problem. But in a way, when you are trying to express yourself, your feelings, and you want to relax and just be with yourself, so I think artwork is also a really great way for that.
I personally think that through art you can express yourself in ways that you cannot through words. So it helps express yourselves without even saying anything. As an introvert, it really helps.
Nowadays, many clinics particularly involve pets in their work. Many new forms of therapy, when you talk about experiential therapies, right? Incorporate art into work, incorporate dance into work, collage, photography, a lot of them. And I somehow feel that, initially when therapy started, it was very redundant and more of talk therapy. But now words have their limitations, right? And words are not the only form of expression.
What do you do to manage or ease your anxiety?
For my mental stability, I love running. When I run, I feel like I am the freest person in the world. And also, I think proper sleep. Nobody talks about the importance of sleep. If you sleep for good 7 hours, and I think 7 hours is more than enough sleep that you need to get.
I feel like even a small thing like listening to music just for 10-15 minutes of my day, it really eases my mind, takes off those extra stress and the chaos of the day.
Listening to music, because I think music reaches parts of your brain or your mind which words don't, or in general people are not able to. So when you're listening to music, maybe when you have your headphones on, you're actually just by yourself, you're truly alone, and you can process your thoughts very well.
I'm into sports. So for that, I would say hitting gym really helps me a lot.
Anxiety isn't weakness, and it definitely isn't attention seeking. It's a real condition that lives in the nervous system, in the hormones, in the body, and for a lot of people, it becomes the way the system learns to survive. For so many people, anxiety becomes their normal. Being tense feels normal, and because it doesn't always look dramatic, it doesn't always look like a panic attack or a breakdown, it often goes unnoticed, even by the person experiencing it. And maybe the most harmful part is this idea that if you're high functioning, then you must be fine. If you're productive, then you must be okay. If you're smiling, you must be okay. But survival is not the same as well-being, and coping is not the same as being okay.
WHO says that health is just not absence of disease. It's much more than that. It's your well-being too.